Here's a question that stumps almost every guy who starts testosterone replacement therapy. Why does a treatment designed to make you healthier suddenly make your blood thick enough to worry your doctor? And here's the part nobody tells you up front. The way most men try to fix it actually makes the problem worse. They crash their levels, feel terrible, and have no idea why. If you've ever looked at a blood panel and seen your hematocrit creeping toward the red zone, or you've watched a buddy donate blood every few weeks like clockwork, this video is going to change how you think about all of it. Because the real story behind TRT and your blood is more nuanced than the internet wants you to believe. Stick around, because by the end you'll understand exactly what's happening inside your veins and how to manage it without overcorrecting into a different problem entirely. Let's start with what hematocrit actually is and why testosterone moves it. Hematocrit is simply the percentage of your blood that's made up of red blood cells. If your hematocrit is 45%, that means 45% of your blood volume is red blood cells, and the rest is plasma, the liquid part. Normal range for men sits roughly between 41 and 50%, though labs vary. Red blood cells matter because they carry oxygen. More of them sounds like a good thing, and to a point it is. That's part of why men feel more energetic and have better endurance on properly dosed testosterone. But testosterone is a powerful signal to your body to produce more red blood cells. It does this through a few mechanisms. It stimulates erythropoietin, the hormone your kidneys release to tell your bone marrow to crank out red cells. It also suppresses hepcidin, which frees up more iron for red blood cell production, and it directly stimulates the bone marrow itself. So when you introduce exogenous testosterone, especially at supraphysiological peaks, your body responds by building a bigger red blood cell army. This is well documented. Studies on testosterone therapy consistently show a rise in both hematocrit and hemoglobin within the first 3 to 6 months. Research published in journals studying hypogonadal men on TRT found that injectable testosterone in particular raises hematocrit more than gels or creams. Why? Because injections, especially larger, less frequent ones, create higher peak levels. Those peaks are the real driver. A guy injecting 200 milligrams once a week gets a much bigger spike than a guy splitting that same dose into smaller injections throughout the week. So, elevated hematocrit on TRT is not a malfunction. It's your body doing exactly what testosterone tells it to do. The question is whether that elevation is actually dangerous, and that brings us to the part where most men get it wrong. Now here's where it gets interesting, and where the panic usually starts. The concern with high hematocrit is that thicker blood could theoretically increase the risk of clots, stroke, or heart attack. That fear is reasonable on the surface. Thicker blood, more resistance, more strain. But the research picture is far more complicated than the scary version you hear. The elevated hematocrit seen in men on TRT does not appear to carry the same risk profile as a medical condition called polycythemia vera, which is a bone marrow disorder where the body uncontrollably overproduces blood cells. In TRT-induced erythrocytosis, what's often happening is partly an increase in red blood cell mass, but also partly a decrease in plasma volume. In other words, some of that high reading is because the liquid portion of your blood went down, concentrating the cells. This is a crucial distinction, because if your hematocrit reads high simply because you're slightly dehydrated or your plasma shifted, that's a very different situation than truly dangerous blood viscosity. And here's a fact that surprises people. Some large reviews of testosterone therapy have not found a clear, strong link between TRT-elevated hematocrit and actual cardiovascular events in otherwise healthy men. The relationship exists in theory, and certainly matters at extreme levels, but the automatic assumption that a hematocrit of 52 means you're about to stroke out is not well supported by the strongest evidence. Context matters enormously. Your hydration status, your blood pressure, your overall cardiovascular health, and how high your number actually climbs all factor in. That said, nobody is arguing you should let it run wild. A hematocrit creeping into the mid-50s and beyond, combined with high blood pressure and poor hydration, is a genuine red flag worth addressing. The point is that the number alone in isolation gets treated as a 5-alarm fire when it often isn't. And that overreaction is precisely what leads men into the trap I want to warn you about. Let me explain why so many men crash their levels trying to fix this. When a man sees a high hematocrit, the most common reaction is to donate blood, sometimes aggressively. Therapeutic phlebotomy, which is just the medical term for removing blood to lower hematocrit, is a legitimate tool. But here's the problem. Most men have no idea that frequent blood donation strips out something far more important than red blood cells. It strips out iron. Every time you donate a unit of blood, you lose roughly 200 to 250 milligrams of iron. Do that every 6 to 8 weeks, and you can methodically drain your iron stores into the basement. Iron is measured by something called ferritin, which reflects your body's iron reserves. When men donate blood repeatedly to chase a lower hematocrit, their ferritin tanks, and low ferritin makes you feel absolutely awful. Fatigue, brain fog, low mood, poor exercise recovery, hair shedding, cold hands and feet, restless legs, and a strange irritability. Sound familiar? These are the exact symptoms men go on TRT to escape, so they fix the testosterone problem and then accidentally recreate the same misery through iron depletion. They feel terrible, blame the testosterone, raise their dose, push hematocrit even higher, donate even more, and the cycle deepens. This is the crash I'm talking about. It's not the hematocrit that crashes, it's the man. He overcorrects a number that may not have been dangerous in the first place. And in doing so, he destroys his iron stores, his energy, and his quality of life. I've seen men with picture-perfect hematocrit and ferritin levels in the single digits who couldn't figure out why they felt like garbage. The answer was on the blood panel the whole time, just not in the box everyone was staring at. So what's the smarter approach? First, address the root cause before reaching for the needle to drain blood. The single most effective change is often the protocol itself. Splitting your dose into smaller, more frequent injections lowers your peak levels and dramatically reduces the hematocrit climb for many men. Daily or every other day dosing keeps things far more stable than one big weekly shot. Second, hydration genuinely matters. Chronic mild dehydration concentrates your blood and inflates the reading. Drinking adequately can shave points off a borderline number. Third, if phlebotomy is truly necessary, it should be done thoughtfully and paired with monitoring of ferritin, not done reflexively on a calendar schedule while ignoring iron entirely. And critically, you have to look at the full picture on your blood work. Hematocrit, hemoglobin, ferritin, iron saturation, and blood pressure together tell the real story. One number in isolation tells you almost nothing. A man optimizing his hormones should be reading his labs like a detective, not a panicked patient reacting to a single highlighted value. The men who do well on TRT long-term are the ones who understand that the goal is not the lowest possible hematocrit. The goal is balance. Enough red blood cells to feel energetic, not so many that viscosity becomes a real concern, and never at the expense of crashing the iron stores that keep you functional in the first place. So to bring it all together, testosterone raises hematocrit because that's literally what testosterone does, driven mostly by high peaks from infrequent injections. That elevation is usually far less dangerous than the internet claims, especially in healthy, hydrated men with good blood pressure. And the real disaster isn't the high number, it's the overcorrection, where aggressive blood donation crashes iron and recreates every symptom you were trying to escape. If you found this helpful and you want the research studies, lab marker breakdowns, and the protocol resources I referenced, everything is linked in the description below. Go check it out, because understanding your own blood work is the single most empowering thing you can do on this journey. Subscribe if you want to keep optimizing the smart way, and I'll see you in the next one.